For most of us, hearing that Long Beach has seen a 62% increase in the homeless population since 2020 comes as no surprise. It's something that we can see everywhere in our city, so much so that the city's new mayor, Rex Richardson, has declared a state of emergency to address the issue. But what does addressing the issue look like? Well, part of that could be a new initiative spearheaded by a group called Long Beach Residents Empowered that will give the city a land trust program to assist with affordable housing now and well into the future. April Parker has been assisting the unhoused through her nonprofit April Parker Foundation for years. Now that the city is accepting applications to find a qualified organization with experience in affordable housing and community trust to operate the land trust, Parker is excited to submit an application on behalf of her foundation. She is joining us now to talk more about what a land trust could mean for Long Beach in the future on this week's The Word.
Let's find a cleaner channel.
Welcome back to The Word. Once again, I am Jackie Ray, and I am excited to talk about this. If you've been following our series, Locked Out, Homeless in Long Beach, you know that we are trying to dive more in not only to the problem, but the possible solutions, which is why I'm very excited to have April Parker with the April Parker Foundation. We're going to talk a little bit about the Community Land Trust, what that means, what the application process is, all of that. But first, I just wanted to introduce you to April Parker. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me here, Jackie. I'm super excited to be here.
I am too. We've been talking a lot offline. We've had coffee and lunch already, so I know a little bit about you, but I just want our listeners to learn a little bit about you, specifically what made you decide that a nonprofit was needed?
Oh, great question. So I have spent my entire career in corporate America, starting businesses, and was very successful at that. However, when I saw the community and I saw the needs of the community, it just touched my heart, and I couldn't go back to doing what I was doing before. I ended up meeting a woman that was in a crisis, and I was able to help her. And that was the most rewarding feeling that I'd ever felt, and I couldn't go back. We started off just helping people, and we decided that we needed a vehicle in which to make sure that we can continue to do that, and that's why we started the foundation.
Now, when you helped her, did you know how to help her? Did you already know where to go, how to navigate this very confusing system? Did you know all that?
No, not at all. It was really, I was just trying to figure out what the problem was, and what I realized was once people hear no, they stop. They deal with maybe the consequences that are going to happen in their lives. But in my career as a negotiator, you have to listen to why people are saying no, so you can offer them solutions to get to the yes. And that's something that I'd been very successful in my previous career. And so listening to this woman, her issue was a housing issue, and when I was discussing it with her, I asked her, well, why were you denied? And she could not give me a reason. And so I said, let me help you. No guarantees, but let me see if I can get to understanding what the issue is. And within 48 hours, we'd resolved her issue, and she was well on to getting the place that she needed to move in with her son. Everyone, especially in the Black community, we don't always have that person we can go to lend us the money or to help bail us out of a situation or just advocate and encourage us to work through these social systems. As a parent, as a foster parent, I've worked across a lot of different systems, social systems, and I've had to fight. And I always would think, like, if I was a 70-year-old grandmother, how would I get over this? And so I wanted to create an organization that people can come to for us just to help you with those social issues.
That's beautiful. I mean, I know sometimes I always like to say I have a heart for people. I don't know if I have a heart for nonprofit, though. That's a different heart, I think. Yeah. So once you started forming your nonprofit, I don't think a lot of people even know what goes into forming a nonprofit. What's the first step that you took to form that?
Well, the first step that I took was I had a conversation with my family about what, as a family, what we wanted to do. Like, who did we want to support? And to be totally honest, we were going to help young people get to college. We were going to pull our resources together, and we were going to fund scholarships. And that's when we started in 2018. However, after seeing that the community needed so many more resources, we quickly shifted that mission. Starting a nonprofit is like starting a corporation. A lot of people, there's a big heart issue to it, yes. But when you start a company, you start it like you start a company. You have to register with the Secretary of State. You have to have a mission. You have to have all the documentation. And I think what has made us successful is that we have two parts. we run our company like a company. We have fiduciary responsibilities and we manage those. But we also hire and maintain a corporate culture that is heart first, is people first. Is that if we can't help you with the solution internally, we're going to hold your hand until we get to that solution. But there, it is a lot, and I think a lot of people, you have a thing that you're passionate about. Like, I want to provide meals. On the business side, you also have to make sure that you have an accounting system and an accountant, that your legal documents and your compliance documents are up to standards, and that your HR policies and hiring practices. So it's a lot to run both sides of the business, but we have a great team. We have a great leadership team, and we're doing it.
Yeah. Now, when you think about the homeless issue or the unhoused issue, when our new mayor, Rex Richardson, has declared a state of emergency, which is definitely understandable, especially in downtown Long Beach, which is where I spend a chunk of my time. That's where the Long Beach Post is. But you see it, so you know there's a problem. But when I see these kinds of issues and I see, a state of emergency being issued now, I always hear my dad in the back of my head saying, don't let things get out of hand before you address it. Do you feel like we could have addressed this homeless issue much sooner than right now?
I think we've tried. I think that technology and advancements in construction has opened up new opportunities. I think that traditionally people look at the unhoused as people who may have been transitioning with mental illness, but there is another group of unhoused. There are the single mothers who during COVID lost their jobs and couldn't afford to pay their rent. And so I think the housing crisis exploded because of COVID and some of those underlying issues that were already there. There's a lot to fix. And now the population of the unhoused and the housing insecure has grown to the point where we need these state of emergencies so that, one, we can get the right funding. Because before, a lot of that funding was caught up in policies
Right.
and other red tapes and barriers. But with the state of emergency, I think it's going to remove a lot of those barriers to allow us to get creative in our solutions, empower our community partners and organizations to come up with solutions and to help with the problem. I think the government has been doing its very best to create transitional housing and roads to permanency, providing down payment assistance for people who want to buy housing, and giving different types of emergency relief. But now I think the call to action is everyone's in. Community partners, businesses, nonprofits, we're all going to come together to help solve this problem, and I'm most excited about that.
Jeff Levine from the Long Beach Rescue Mission, he said something that was so profound to me. He said, a lot of people call it the homeless problem. It's not a problem, it's people. Yeah. And I think that kind of resonated with me, hearing him say that. I'm like, yeah, I've never said that phrase before. Seeing how excited you are about this state of emergency, where I'm like, oh my God, we're in a state of emergency. Yeah. It's a different mindset. And I just want to applaud you for having that different mindset.
Yeah, but I'm a humanist and I love all people. And so when I see I think housing is a basic right. I think that if you choose, you should have an opportunity to be housed. You can't have food security or any other type of securities if you're not housed, if you don't have a place to receive your mail, a place to lay your head, a place where you can start to make those steps towards getting a job or recovering from whatever issues that you're going through. And so I am excited because I think people deserve housing. And it's hard in California to navigate the rental systems, the purchasing systems of homes. And some people in our community need help to get there. I think one of the issues is when people think of the unhoused, right? That visual that comes up in their mind is the tents and someone who's dirty and someone who maybe has mental health issues. But when I think of the unhoused, when I think of the referrals that we get for people who are unhoused or housing insecure, they're families with children, single moms with children, college students, seniors, 70, 80 years old, veterans, spouses of veterans who have lost their lives, and that veteran supported that individual, and now they don't know where to go. And so I think the face of homelessness and housing insecurity is changed. And I want to show people what they look like. Who are these people in our community that need our help? And because I think you'd be surprised who these individuals are. I think we have a very visual. And if you could see the faces of the people we help, I think more people would want to help. And again, I think the city is incentivizing homeowners to rent rooms, create ADU units, allowing people to purchase homes by giving them down payment assistance. And so I think we're doing all the right things. But the crisis has exploded, and I think it was exacerbated by COVID-19. And so now it is an emergency.
Right. I was reading an article on I believe it was Family Wealth, and it was saying that 59% of Americans are just one paycheck away from being homeless. I think once you are in that situation where you are paycheck to paycheck, it's daunting, and that's a mental health issue sometimes. And then if you have children, Melissa did she covered a lot of aspects of this homeless situation, and one of the things she found is the medical bills, how that impacts people who. And I think it's exactly what you said. Once you're you dive in and you see these stories and you hear and you can say like what my mom always says, but God, that could have been, there go I. That really changes your perception. But now it's time to do the work. And I'm really excited about this community land trust. We did a story on it here for the Long Beach Post, but I really want to dive into what this means, because I think what a lot of people might not know is this actually was something that happened in the South, and it was done. The land trust idea was an idea to give Black people a community where they can kind of centralize. But this is not that. So can you kind of explain what the community land trust is, especially specifically here to Long Beach?
Well, I think it is somewhat like that land trust. What the city is endeavoring to do is to bring community together to have ownership in the community and make decisions on what we build and what it looks like. A lot of times developers come in and they build buildings and they have to have a certain financial profile. Um, but when the community owns the land, they can ensure that the property that is built on it is affordable forever. And so it secures affordability in the housing market for a lot of people. And so I'm excited that we're pulling together a team of community members, organizations like Lindustry and Farmers and Merchants Bank, Innovative Housing Opportunities, Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion, to pull together a team to apply for this community land trust so we can develop it. What the city is looking to do is help to seed the establishment of a community land trust, for it to be organized, for it to be made of community members to make decisions for our community. And that's what's going to happen. If we are awarded this land trust opportunity, we're going to collaborate with neighborhood associations and individuals and people who are actually interested in obtaining housing through this land trust to help make the decisions whether we're building housing for people to buy or people to rent or both, and where and what land are we going to use. The community land trust perpetually owns the land, but you have an economic interest, meaning the community, in everything that is built. And if you buy a property, when it's sold, it makes it affordable for the next person. And I think it's a brilliant idea that has been replicated all over the country. And I think it will be, not can, but it will be an amazing opportunity for the legacy of people that are coming behind us.
So when I think of like owning a home, I'm doing all right for myself financially, but I can't afford to buy a home in Long Beach. So when you say affordable, what does that mean per se?
Well, I think it can mean a lot of different things. I think the land trust will look at affordability across a wide spectrum. Things like purchasing land where there can be smaller homes that may be affordable, where people can spend less than $100,000 to buy their unit. Co-op situations where they're investing in the entire property and having a percentage of the ownership. And so I think that with the land trust and with the management team, those creative opportunities will come. Again, traditionally I'm going to build a house and I'm going to sell it at market rate. But in the land trust, you're looking at social programs, social funding as well, that we can develop to help the people at different levels, whether it's a student who has just graduated from college who wants to invest in their first home, or someone with a transitioning family that wants to transition from renting, or someone who is interested in renting but needs it to be affordable so that they can continue to build their savings and continue to make progress in their life. One of the things we're also excited about is that we also want to provide those social supports. So it's great. We're going to help you find housing and be able to afford housing, but we're also identifying opportunities to provide you with financing options and down payment assistance and utility payment assistance and social case management, meaning that we understand that people coming in to be new homeowners may need some help with advocacy, may need some help with budgeting, and we're going to wrap all those services around the housing developments that we develop in the city of Long Beach.
So you're applying, the application's due by January 31st,
Yes.
correct? Have you already submitted your application?
No.
Okay.
We haven't submitted our application yet. We just had a pre-bid conference with the city of Long Beach, and it was very informative, right in line with what we were planning to do. But we've already put together an amazing group of initial board members and community partners that are going to help us not only make sure that we win this proposal, but that when the proposal is awarded, that we can actually execute and ensure that the city of Long Beach gets exactly what it deserves.
And then I read that you'll get, is it 800,000 in seed funding money?
Yes.
What exactly is that money for?
So again, starting a new business, you need capital.
Okay.
You need capital to go through the legal process of establishing a foundation or nonprofit organization. You need capital to hire an executive director, to have staff, to have a facility. And so it's a great investment because it ensures that that the land trust is set up adequately. There's controls in place. Now the city's going to be hands off, but they put together a scope of work that requires you to check in with them and give them reporting. Has the land trust been developed? Has the bylaws been developed? Has the board been established? Have you identified properties that you are looking to purchase? And so they ensure you have a plan, a solid financial plan, a solid partnership plan, because starting a business, you need a plan,
Right.
right? And so the city is seeding that, and it's a great opportunity because most organizations they start with basically utilizing their own funds and having a fundraise while you're in the development phase. The $800,000 that the city is investing allows a 2-year period for the foundation to basically create itself, get established, so that when it starts purchasing property and building for the community, that it is well established.
And you've already reached out to several different entities, businesses.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the bigger corporations you've reached out to and why they're excited to get involved?
Well, I think that they're excited to get involved because this is an issue that everyone's concerned about, right? And sometimes we don't know what roles we can play. When you look at like a farmers and merchant bank, okay, they do a lot of commercial lending, a lot of private lending, but I think they're interested in being a part of this because they're ingrained in this community and they want this community to succeed. And so we wanted them to be a part of this team because we know financial security, financial literacy, buying commercial properties, it's a big deal. And we wanted to make sure that we had the brain power and the partnership with farmers to make it happen. And so they're going to be joining this community land trust. Also Lendistry. Lendistry does a lot for the community, also with commercial lending and advising and ensuring that the terms of these agreements, not only for us as a land trust in acquisition, but also for the community members that hopefully are going to be able to buy some of this property. So we wanted to make sure we had the right financial partners to advise us as well as the residents that will be coming into the land trust. And then we have Innovative Housing Solutions. They're a nonprofit that already across all of Los Angeles, in Orange County, actually the state of California, have been building affordable housing. They know how to secure state funding for housing developments. They know how to analyze properties and do due diligence, and they know how to build and rehab properties. And so we just got a yes from their board that they're going to be joining us as our preferred developer on this project. Now, they're not going to build every development because every development isn't going to suit them, but they are going to be that technical expertise to help us identify what partners we need in the development process. And so very excited about those 3 partners. Now, there's a host of community organizations, my foundation, the April Parker Foundation being one. We're talking to Pools of Hope, UCC, Latinas in Action. So we're going across, what we did was we looked across Long Beach at the diversity and the beauty of our community. And we said, which partners would be interested in helping their community. Who's already feeding the
Right.
unhoused? Who's already trying to do this work? Let's gather those individuals because they have the heart and passion. It's not about ego. It's not about ownership because none of us own it. It is completely community driven. Bring those initial partners, and once it's awarded, we'll be bringing in more partners.
So it's not just about the land and the building. It's about, like you said, partnerships to make sure everybody
Has a voice.
has a voice.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful, and it's so, it makes such common sense. It seems like we should have probably done this by now, but it's a learning process.
It's an opportunity, and I think the city is offering opportunities, right? Because individually, if an individual organization wanted to start a land trust, they would do it under their organization, and they really wouldn't have any incentive to partner because it's something that they would have to invest in. Well, the city is saying we're going to make the investment. And it's for the people, so it needs to be run by the people. The way that the land trust is, the RFP is set, is that one of the tenets that you have to fulfill is putting together a diverse group of individuals because they want this to be run by the city. I'm sorry, by the community members within the city, and the city will be hands off. But I believe that there's a lot of opportunities coming. I follow federal and state appropriation, and I know there are literally billions of dollars about to be poured into the state of California to address homelessness. So to have a land trust in the city of Long Beach positions us in a great position to receive those funds and to fund the projects that are necessary to tackle the housing crisis that we have in the city.
What's the next step? Is it like 2 years before we would actually see you guys purchase the land? Is it you'll start doing the work immediately to, give people, make them a little bit more secure in themselves, so then when it's time they can transition? What would be the next step after you win the contract?
So let me just say this. At the April Parker Foundation, we deal with unhoused on a daily basis. We have a huge list of people that we've helped and we're continuing to help. The great thing and why I consider us the A team and is because on day one, we're going to be ready, right? You're not dealing with people who are inexperienced. You're dealing with people who know how to set up businesses, know how to set up land trusts, and know how to execute. So although the city has given a 2-year window, in talking to the partners, we believe that we're going to have the land trust fully established within 3 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And be ready to acquire property, if not sooner. Be ready to start acquiring land or property once we get the city's blessing. And moving forward, I think we're going to be able to accelerate this because you have the banking and finance arm of it, you have the development piece, you have the financing piece, but you also have the April Parker Foundation that can provide social programming, right? So when you're going into a project like this, you're going to need social support. So we're going to offer those outreach activities. We're going to work across all the neighborhood associations to make sure that if there are people in your community that need housing, we want them to be a part of this. And we want to identify opportunities in land in which we can solve those problems. And so I think we're an A team because we're going to be ready. We are ready. And I think we can get to execution a lot quicker. Because when you're dealing with housing, every day matters.
Right.
Every day there are people out on the streets. And, we do a lot of transitional housing. We pull people off the streets every day and help them to be housed and find affordable housing. We do a lot of housing prevention. We have an emergency financial relief program where we literally, last year, I think we gave away over $200,000 in direct financial relief. And so we're in this process already. And it would be great that if there was a pipeline, we would have these individuals already coming into us. We have the emergency housing solutions, and then they can transition and give them a solution. Here is affordable housing, right? Here is a voucher that we can help you apply for to get into a lot of these housing solutions.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, whole pipeline.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Like you said, the A team, you've already been doing the work. So where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this sounds like such a massive, almost overwhelming process. You're like, nah, we've been doing this.
We've been doing it. But I trust the procurement process, right? And so although I think we're a great team, even if the city was to give this contract to another person, I'm still excited about it. I'm excited to be a part of the process and help in whatever way that our foundation can, because I would say 80%, I think that's a number I saw, of our clients, whether they're coming in for some type of financial relief, they all say that they have some level of housing insecurity, whether they're already unhoused and they're in some sheltering system or living on the streets, or they're just insecure in their housing because of income or a lot of social issues that may occur. You came up with a point earlier about living paycheck to paycheck. When I look at the span of our clients, it's not that we have very low income clients. We have a lot of those, but a large percentage of our clients are everyday working class people who actually are at or above the poverty line, who they did have savings, but guess what? They had an emergency, or something happened at work, or their car broke down, or they had to pay for a medical expense that they weren't expecting. And that's where our partnership with the Change Reaction comes in. We have an angel fund with the Change Reaction that allows us to help in those emergency financial situations to preserve people from becoming homeless. And that's a big part of what we do.
I think sometimes people want to help, but they don't think they have the time, the resources. How can somebody get involved and even help on even the most minute scale just to make a difference?
Well, there's lots of ways. There's the Mayor's Homeless Funds. If people have even $25 to donate to the Mayor's Fund to help with the unhoused. But there's opportunities within our nonprofit at the April Parker Foundation, that's aprilparker.org, to volunteer for a lot of the things that we do. I think one of the biggest things that people can do is that when you see someone that is unhoused, just speak to them, say hello. If you have something to offer them, offer it to them. I think people sometimes think that if I feed the cat, it's going to keep coming back, but I really don't. I really don't see that. I see that just an act of human kindness to people who are struggling to get their basic needs met goes a long way. And just participate. Read the Mayor's 100-Day Plan and see what spark comes out to you, where you can volunteer, where you can support this in the work that you do in your everyday jobs in life.
Thank you so much, April. And again, you can find her on aprilparker.org.
Yes.
That is her nonprofit. I'm sure there's volunteer opportunities, donation opportunities. Make sure you take advantage of all that. And like April said, just don't overlook that act of human kindness. And remember, if you have to speak a word, make it a good one. We'll see you next time.